Carl Jung said something that will make you rethink every quiet man you've ever underestimated. The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. The man who has done that work, he doesn't need to announce himself. He already knows who he is. And that's silence? That's not weakness. That's a loaded weapon with the safety on. By the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why the quietest man in the room is usually running the deepest game, and how you can use Jung's psychology to stop bleeding your power through your mouth and start building the kind of presence that makes people feel you before you speak. Here's why this matters right now. We live in a culture that rewards the loudest voice, the hottest take, the most reactive guy in the comments. And most men have bought that lie. They talk to fill space. They explain themselves when no one asked. They defend, justify, perform. And every time they do, they hand a little piece of their power to whoever's watching. The silent man doesn't play that game. And in a world of noise, silence has become the rarest form of dominance. Silence signals self-containment, and self-containment signals power. Think about the most intimidating figures in any room you've walked into. A courtroom judge. A special forces operator at a bar. A CEO who lets his lawyer do the talking. None of them were running their mouth. Marcus Aurelius ruled the most powerful empire on earth and spent his nights writing in a private journal, not performing for an audience. His silence wasn't absence. It was surplus. He had so much going on internally that he didn't need external validation to feel real. Jung called this individuation the process of becoming a complete, integrated self. When a man is still becoming, he talks to reassure himself. When a man has become, he doesn't need the audience. Silence is the byproduct of internal completion. People sense that difference instantly, even if they can't name it. The man who doesn't need your approval reads is dangerous in the most compelling way possible. Every word you don't say is information you keep, and information is leverage. Machiavelli wrote in The Prince that the wise ruler reveals only what serves his purpose. Not because he's deceptive, but because he understands that words are currency, and most men spend theirs the moment they earn them. Think about the negotiator who speaks last. The poker player who doesn't fill the silence after a bluff. The man who, when asked about his plans, just smiles and says we'll see. That restraint isn't rudeness. It's asset protection. Jung's concept of the shadow explains part of this. Most men talk compulsively because they're trying to manage how they're perceived, to keep the shadow hidden. But the man who has faced his shadow, who knows his own darkness and owns it, has nothing to defend. He doesn't overshare because he's not afraid of what you'll find. And paradoxically, that makes him more trustworthy, not less. Mystery isn't manipulation. It's the natural state of a man with depth. The silent man listens at a level that gives him a permanent advantage. Epictetus, born a slave, became one of the most influential philosophers in history, said we have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. But go deeper than the cliché. In any high-stakes conversation, a boardroom negotiation, a tense moment in a relationship, a job interview, the man who's listening is the man who's learning. The man who's talking is the man who's revealing. Every word someone speaks tells you what they want, what they fear, what they believe. The silent man collects all of it. Jung described the psyche as an iceberg. Most of what drives human behavior lives below the surface. When you're quiet and present, you start to pick up on the unconscious signals, the nervous laugh, the repeated justification, the topic someone keeps circling back to. You stop reacting to what people say and start understanding why they say it. That's not a social skill. That's a superpower. And it only activates when your mouth is closed. Silence under pressure is the ultimate display of emotional regulation, and women, rivals, and leaders all test for it. Viktor Frankl survived Nazi concentration camps and came out the other side with a complete psychological framework, logotherapy, built on the idea that between stimulus and response, there is a space. The men who survived the camps with their humanity intact were the ones who could hold that space. They didn't react. They chose. Now you're not in a concentration camp. But you are in meetings where someone takes a shot at you. In relationships where someone pushes to see what you'll do. In moments where the old version of you would have snapped back immediately. The man who can sit in that discomfort and say nothing, or say exactly the right thing at exactly the right moment, that man gets respected in a way that reactive men never will. Jung talked about the persona, the mask we wear for the world, and how most men are so attached to it that any threat to the mask triggers an immediate emotional response. Losing your temper, over-explaining, getting defensive, these are all persona protection responses. When you've done the inner work, the persona is just a tool, not your identity. You can take a hit and not flinch because you know who you actually are underneath. That stillness under fire is what leaders look for in lieutenants. It's what women call security. It's what rivals call unreadable. It's all the same thing. The man who speaks less, speaks with more weight every time. Nietzsche wrote that words dilute and brutalize, words depersonalize, words make the uncommon common. Think about the men whose words have stopped you cold. The mentor who said one sentence that you still carry 10 years later. The father who rarely spoke, but when he did, the room went quiet. The manager whose rare praise meant everything because it wasn't handed out constantly. These men understood something most men never learn: scarcity creates value. Including the scarcity of your voice. There's a psychological principle called the scarcity heuristic: we assign more value to things that are rare. When you speak constantly, your words become ambient noise. When you speak deliberately and infrequently, each word carries weight. People lean in. They remember. They quote you. Jung's concept of the self, the fully realized, integrated man, is not a man who performs constantly. It's a man who acts with intention. Speaking less is part of that intentionality. You're not withholding. You're curating. Here's what we covered. 1. Silence signals self-containment, and self-containment signals power. The man who has done his inner work doesn't need external validation. 2. Every word you hold back is leverage you keep. Information is currency, and quiet men spend it wisely. 3. Real listening gives you a permanent strategic advantage. You hear what people mean, not just what they say. 4. Stillness under pressure is the test every room puts you through, and passing it earns a respect that nothing else can buy. 5. Speak less and your words become weapons. Scarcity creates weight, and weight creates influence. The silent man isn't absent. He's conserving energy for what actually matters. If this hit different for you, if you've been leaking power through your mouth and you're ready to stop, subscribe. We drop one of these every Tuesday and Friday. No fluff, no motivation poster garbage. Just the ideas that actually change how you move through the world. Hit subscribe. See you Tuesday.